Welcome back. We have our eye on your money, and we've talked a lot over the last year about the emerging condo cliff, a glut of condos on the market leading to lower prices and a lot of frustration for sellers.
November 2025, Miami Beach. Monthly condo fees tripling overnight. Special assessments hitting $50,000 per unit. Over 1,400 buildings blacklisted by Fannie Mae. Financing dead. In Miami, 92.5% of condos selling below asking price. Seniors on fixed incomes abandoning homes they spent decades paying off. Governor Ron DeSantis just signed emergency legislation with his voice cracking because 4 years after Surfside killed 98 people, the law designed to save lives is now destroying them financially. This is the overnight collapse of South Florida's condo market, and it's just getting started. The paradise that broke. Florida sold the condo dream harder than any state in America. Oceanfront living, affordable retirement, sunshine without the California price tag. By 2020, Florida had 1.4 million condos, nearly 20% of every condo in America. Retirees from Ohio bought Fort Lauderdale units for $200,000 and felt like millionaires. Snowbirds from Canada locked in 3-month winter rentals in Naples and never looked back. First-time buyers stretched every dollar to afford Miami Beach studios, thinking they were building generational wealth. The math worked. Buy a condo for $250,000. Pay $400 a month in HOA fees. Enjoy the beach. Retire comfortably. That was the promise. And for decades, it delivered. But at 1:22 a.m. on June 24th, 2021, everything changed. Champlain Towers South in Surfside collapsed. 12 stories, gone in 12 seconds. 98 people dead. Families crushed in their sleep. Concrete and steel pancaking floor by floor until nothing remained but rubble and horror. The collapse wasn't a freak accident. Investigators found decades of ignored warnings. A 2018 structural report flagged major concrete deterioration. Water damage destroying steel reinforcement in the parking garage. Cracks spreading through load-bearing columns. The Condo Association approved a $15 million repair plan in April 2021. But construction hadn't started. They waited too long, and 98 people paid with their lives. When Florida saw those images, panic spread instantly. Every aging condo became suspect. Every waterfront building a potential death trap. And lawmakers in Tallahassee moved fast. The law that sounded reasonable. In 2022, Florida passed Senate Bill 4D, new safety requirements for aging condos statewide, milestone inspections at 30 years, 25 if near the coast, structural integrity reserve studies to calculate repair costs, and the provision that would destroy everything, mandatory fully funded reserves. No more deferring maintenance, no more pushing costs into next year's budget. Associations had to prove they had money in the bank to fix their buildings. Right now. On paper, it made sense. Prevent another Surfside. Force buildings to maintain themselves properly. Save lives. But nobody calculated the real cost. Nobody asked what happens when 600,000 aging condos suddenly need millions in repairs. Nobody thought about the people living in those buildings. Retirees on fixed incomes, middle-class families, snowbirds who bought decades ago when everything was affordable. The law passed, politicians celebrated, and the financial bomb started ticking. Inspections rolled out in 2023. Engineers descended on buildings across South Florida, and what they found was catastrophic. Nearly 600,000 condos built before 1985, back when building codes were loose. Concrete poured too thin. Rebar spacing inadequate, waterproofing non-existent, saltwater eating through foundations. These buildings had been deteriorating for 40 years, and now every problem had to be fixed immediately. Peter Zalewski runs Condo Vultures, tracking South Florida's market data. He watched associations panic in real time. Buildings that charged $400 monthly fees suddenly needed $800, then $1,000, then $1,200 just to stay operational. But that was just the start. Special assessments came next. One-time emergency payments to fund immediate repairs. $10,000 per unit, $20,000, $50,000. Some buildings hit owners with $80,000 bills. And if you couldn't pay, the association could lien your property. Foreclose. Take everything you'd built over decades. When affordable became impossible. Michael Litzizi thought he'd made a smart investment. One-bedroom condo at Sion on South Ocean Drive in Miami Beach. Bought it years ago. Solid building, ocean views, good rental income. Then 2025 hit. His HOA fees doubled. Special assessments started piling up. He listed the condo at $480,000. No offers. Dropped to $450,000. Nothing. Dropped again to $430,000. Still nothing. By late 2025, he was asking $414,000. A $66,000 loss from his original asking price. And even then, buyers walked away after seeing the fees and assessment schedule. He's now renting the unit just to cover some costs, but monthly rent doesn't cover HOA fees anymore. He's bleeding $800 every month holding on to a property nobody will buy. That's the new reality for thousands of condo owners. You can't sell, you can't afford to stay. You're just trapped watching your investment turn into a liability. Georgie Pratt in Winter Park has it worse. She's 72. Bought her one-bedroom condo in 2006. Small place, quiet building. Her mortgage payment, $300 a month. Totally manageable on Social Security. Then inspections revealed her 1981 building needed $4.8 million in repairs. Her share? $52,000. And monthly fees jumped from $300 to $2,100. 7 times her mortgage. The blacklist that killed the market. Then Fannie Mae stepped in and made everything catastrophically worse. By mid-2025, over 1,400 Florida condo buildings landed on Fannie Mae's ineligible list. That's not a warning. That's a death sentence. Buildings on that list can't get conventional financing. No FHA loans. No Fannie-backed mortgages. If you want to buy a unit in one of those buildings, you need all cash. Or you need a non-QM loan with terrible rates and brutal terms most buyers can't qualify for. Alexi Morgado, a Florida realtor, watched the market freeze. The condo market is in the midst of a perfect storm. The combined effect of these new laws made over 1,400 condos in Florida ineligible for standard loans. Buyers now rely on non-QM loans to buy condos in Florida, and the rates and terms are worse. Translation: buildings on the blacklist are unsellable. Period. Why did Fannie Mae flag them? Because they couldn't prove financial stability. Associations that deferred reserves for decades suddenly needed millions. They didn't have it. So Fannie flagged them as high risk. And once you're on that list, you're done. Even if the association eventually scrapes together the money, the stigma remains. Buyers assume the building is collapsing. Values tank. More owners try to sell. Inventory floods the market. Prices drop further. It's a death spiral with no exit. Insurance companies piled on. Florida premiums doubled in 6 to 9 months, according to Seneca Insurance. A typical 3-bedroom condo costing $2,400 yearly in 2020 now costs $8,000 or more. Coastal properties, $12,000, $15,000 annually. Some owners pay more in insurance than their original mortgage payments. And after hurricanes devastated the state, multiple insurers pulled out completely. Buildings couldn't find coverage at any price. No insurance means no mortgage. No mortgage means no sale. The market didn't just slow down, it stopped. The inventory explosion, nobody can stop. By early 2025, desperation set in statewide. Owners who couldn't afford skyrocketing fees started panic selling, or trying to. In January, South Florida had 25,000 condos for sale. By April, 28,000. 3,000 new listings in 3 months. By mid-year, Florida had nearly 80,000 condos and townhomes on the market, a 35% increase year over year. That represents over 10 months of supply. For context, 6 months is balanced. 10 months means sellers have zero leverage. Buyers control everything. Prices collapsed accordingly. Punta Gorda condo values dropped 18% year over year. Cape Coral down 15%. Tampa down 12%. Parts of Sarasota falling 12 to 14%. The statewide median condo price hit $300,000 in October 2025, down 4.8% from a year earlier. But averages hide the real carnage. In Miami, 92.5% of condos sold below asking price in February. Out of every 100 sales, only 7 got full price. Everyone else took losses. When DeSantis finally panicked. For 2 years, DeSantis ignored the crisis. The post-Surfside law was necessary. Safety first. Anyone complaining about costs was being unreasonable. But by September 2024, ignoring it became impossible. The outcry was deafening. Seniors losing homes. Families bankrupted. The entire South Florida condo market in freefall. He called a press conference in Miami Lakes, surrounded by legislators trying to look concerned, and admitted what everyone already knew. We do need to do something this year. I don't think this is something that you can just put off until next March or April. His proposals? Low-interest loans for condo owners, tweaks to reserve requirements, deadline extensions. But his tone betrayed him. This wasn't leadership. This was panic. He blamed lawmakers for not anticipating consequences, blamed condo boards for deferring maintenance too long, blamed everyone except the law itself. Representative Tom Fabrizio stood beside him and said the condo crisis was probably the most important issue in the state of Florida at this time, not one of several priorities. The most important. That's how catastrophic it had become. By April 2025, DeSantis was openly feuding with his own Republicans. The Florida House passed a condo reform bill. DeSantis held another press conference in Miami and tore into them. The House's condo bill seems to favor developers and puts the interest of developers over Florida residents. That is unacceptable. He backed the Senate version instead. A bill increasing accountability for condo managers, strengthening voting requirements, adding transparency to reserve studies, and crucially, giving associations flexibility to phase reserve funding, use alternative financing, invest contributions to generate returns. June 18, 2025. Clearwater. DeSantis signed House Bill 913 and House Bill 393, surrounded by lawmakers eager for credit. He called it landmark legislation, relief for condo owners, financial flexibility. But his voice lacked conviction. Everyone in that room understood the truth. The bills helped marginally, extended deadlines, offered payment plans, added some transparency. But they didn't fix anything fundamental. They didn't lower costs, didn't bring buyers back, didn't stop the market collapse. They just slowed the bleeding slightly while pretending to solve the problem. The crisis that won't end. December 2025. Florida's condo market remains in total freefall. Prices down 9.9% year over year, the steepest drop since 2009. Nearly 80,000 units sitting unsold. Inventory at 10-month supply. And every expert agrees it's getting worse before it gets better. TD Economics forecasts pain lasting through late 2026 minimum, maybe years beyond. Why? Because nothing fundamental changed. Aging buildings still need millions in repairs. Associations still don't have the money. Buyers still won't touch older condos. The cycle can't break. Market psychology shattered completely. Condos used to represent safe investments, entry points to Florida real estate, retirement security. Now they represent liabilities, financial traps, retirement destroyers. Once that perception embeds itself, reversing it takes years. Newer condos built after 2000 are holding steady. Modern construction standards, proper maintenance, lower risk. But anything built before 1990, especially coastal, is collapsing. Values dropping 15 to 18% in many areas. Owners trapped with no escape route. Can't sell without massive losses. Can't afford to stay. Can't refinance because banks won't touch them. The human cost is devastating beyond measure. Thousands of seniors forced from homes they paid off decades ago. Middle-class families bankrupted by special assessments. Small investors who bought rental condos now losing money monthly. And why thousands of Floridians who trusted the Sunshine State promise are now watching everything they built disappear. If this breakdown opened your eyes to what's really happening in Florida's condo crisis, hit that subscribe button. More real estate collapses. More political failures destroying regular people. More crises hiding behind official spin. They're all coming, and you'll want to see what happens next.